Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jay. I'm the host of the Metal Summit podcast on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. I'm also the owner of Just a Rock and Roll Junkie for justarockandrolljunkie.com. And I'm actually sitting with Mike McCann of Raven Tree, and we're going to have a little conversation. We're going to just kind of talk a little bit about Raven Tree history, a little bit of fun stuff kind of in between, what things have been in the past, what they're looking at the present, and also what we're looking at in the future. So fact of the matter is, Mike, thanks so much for taking a little bit of time to hang.
It's really cool to catch up with you again, man.
Absolutely. No, it's definitely been a little while. So before we kind of get down into like the nitty gritty and stuff like that, let's take a little moment just to talk about the year that wasn't, which was 2020, because
right.
We really, just kind of have to discuss it because it's really just kind of so relevant. So
it's the elephant in the room, right?
It really, yeah. So talk a little bit about exactly that situation, what was going on at the time of the musical erasure.
Yeah, so the blip, right?
Yeah,
like
the blip.
In the movies. So Tony had just come back to the band, the drummer, Tony Latirzo had just come back to drum with us, and we had just performed at Soundstage, and it was a great show downtown Baltimore. And then we had another show coming up around Zen West in about the middle of March, and that was the week that they shut everything down. So we had done the show, and that Monday, on the Saturday, and that Monday they shut down the universe. And it was like, okay, well, most people realized that this was going to be a longer haul for whatever reason than what they initially said, and so we started kind of considering things. We had Swing Me on the shelf I had written it with a drummer named Adam Grabowski like 2 years prior, like 2018. And I had yet to get it on tape, for a number of reasons, which we'll probably cover at some point. But,
sure.
Phoenix and I, by the end of April, were like, look, we got to get something done. And Tony lives like 3 hours away. And just with the logistics of COVID and everything, we're like, well, we're not really sure where any of this is going. We brought in Jeff Gardner to do the session with us. And Jeff had worked with us in the past. And that came out well. We got it finished up, we got it mixed, and we got that released. And then, we got into the summer, and then people were starting to try to figure out the whole live stream thing, right?
Yeah.
And that seemed to be like everybody was we were all pinning our hopes that live stream would be a functioning aspect of the new music business. And I think in many ways it is.
Sure.
But for a rock band, right, for bands that are built around loud guitars and big drums and thunderous bass and vocals that are just down in the gut, I think, and I was talking to a journalist named Kim Alagrezza about 3 weeks ago about this, and she said she had been speaking with an attorney, a music attorney, about the same thing prior to that, and she had said that almost every genre has benefited from some form of live stream type of transition except for rock. And it hit me as she said this. I said, it seems to me that rock in general, especially big rock, is an arena art form.
Sure.
It is an in-person exchange of rock works when it's live.
Mm-hmm.
And although you have a live stream and maybe someone will tell you you're up to 800 people, where? I'm playing to the sound guy and the videographer, and no offense, but it's
right.
It's just not there. And I don't think if you're looking at your phone or you're looking on a laptop, it's not going to translate to the concert experience. And I've seen that on the faces of a lot of younger kids whose parents might bring them out to one of our shows, right?
Yeah.
Their jaws drop. They're like, nobody does what you do. I mean, they haven't seen that except on YouTube, right? And they go away being like, I want to go to another rock show, right? So rock is a music form that requires that live experience, and I don't think it translates as well on live stream. We did a live stream. I had my challenges with that technically. I had a tube blow.
Right.
A power tube blow, and it threw me off, and as Phoenix says, once I get into my head in the middle of a show, it's like a tailspin. It's hard for me to pull out of that tailspin. So that was a little rough. We did a couple of other shows that, guys were trying to do. We played a show up in Westminster, Maryland, with some guys, Liquid Lucky and 86 Bullets, great bands, great guys. And you know, I commend everyone for trying to put on a great show, right?
Yeah.
But even then, it's still hard for people to want to come out and really, you know, participate because of all of the concerns with health-related things. So,
and well, that's the thing too. Is it's funny enough because rock music is also derived on that fan interaction as well. Because you know, you've got the whether it's the singer or a separate guitar player or the bass player who like to get down closer to the crowd. You have picks being chucked into the crowd. You've got drumsticks and stuff like that. You've got hands reaching out, like, you know, wanting to wave or do fist bumps or high fives during sets and stuff like that. And you know, all you're gonna do is punch your screen or throw your phone if you try to do that kind of thing. And it's the same thing. And
yeah, it's like, way to go! And then you're looking around, you're in your living room, and it's on the screen.
Your cat's looking at you funny.
Now, I will say this. You know, Raven Tree has I don't want to say struggled, but you know, we've been working at it for so long that having 3 or 4 people in the room is not an unusual event, right?
Sure.
But when you get the sound guy banging his head behind the board, or the videographer, that's actually pretty good, right?
For sure.
And I can rock off of that. But yeah, it's finding those people that are in the crowd that either know the lyrics, and we have some fans that know the lyrics, and or people that will hear a joke in the songs or in the lyrics, and they'll realize it and they'll smile, and there might be that one person in the back that actually got it, right?
Right.
Or, you know, I might trip over something, or I might do something funky that, you know, it gets a little jazzy for a second or two, but the guys and we pull it out, but somebody out there catches that, right? Yeah. And they smile and they're like, and you're just like, you know, and those little things make it for a really enjoyable experience, not just for the audience, but for the guys up on stage. And so there's that gets lost in translation. If we were doing, you know, lounge jazz stuff, you know, we could probably live stream that all day and be really about the music or solo acoustic stuff, or even blues music can really translate well in a more intimate feel like that. But when it's big rock, it's a little more challenging.
That's currently what we're reduced to keep the artist in the forefront too, because the one thing that I think every artist, musician can collectively agree on is you have to stay relevant in some way, because there is no art form that you can be forgotten faster than in music.
Especially popular music, right?
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct. And staying relevant is one of those challenges with the rock band as times change. For example, we did Swing Me, which was, I titled it on YouTube as A Step to the Left, Swing Me by Raven Tree, and it is a step to the left for us. I had people calling me from Arizona saying, dude, this is a new genre of rock you've created here. I'm like, it's a single, right? I can't do a whole album of this because it would be so repetitive, right? And there are bands out there that have created their own genres, but if we did that, it would not work for us.
Sure.
Right? So, relevance. So the end of the year came around, it's like, okay, let's put together a video for Swing Me. We did it DIY just in keeping with the year, right? That we were going to, we filmed the video in here. You know, Tony was solidly a part of the band at this point. We had just decided to say, fuck it to COVID, we're going to be a band, we're going to do shit together as a band. You know, no more session shit, none of that stuff. So, we filmed it in here, it came out great, we enjoyed it, we had a lot of hits on it since we released it in February, and I think that's gone over well. The other thing we did was right around Thanksgiving time frame, we released a video for a single called Dying All Alone that I had written. That was probably the first really complete song that I'd written right around the time I think I first met you when you were writing for Shockwave back around 2009.
Yeah.
And this song...
That's when we shut down the bar at the now dead circuit.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, well, no, that was 2014, wasn't it?
Oh, that was 2014, that's right.
15.
But
and 2009, we were still at like Talking Head and all those places down there. Record. But so, I'd written a song. We had recorded it around 2019 and released it 2019 on Manta Ray when we were still distributing with Manta Ray, and never really done much with it. And we had been hitting some doldrums, which we'll probably talk about later. But I had a concept, and so I pulled together all the footage of every Raven Tree show, including the very first one, because somebody a long time ago had a phone up at an auto bar show, and it was the first show of Raven Tree ever. The original album lineup was doing a couple shows with me at that point, and I'm glad it's a poor recording because it was a poor performance, right? But it was the very first one. So I started out with those things, and I montaged all of this footage over the course of 5-6 years, put it together as the oldest song I wrote with all of this footage, and here it is. And I'll tell you, it was very depressing to put together. I was about halfway through putting it together, about halfway through the song and putting this stuff together. I'm like, oh my God, this is depressing. Just show after show after show, playing to the bartenders, playing to the cat that walked through, chasing the rat, and you're just like, man, I'm starting to ask myself, what am I doing right now? Is this going to be the final thing I do? Is this video and I quit?
Right.
But no, then we got to the part where we have film footage and photos from the Devil's Red Mistress sessions that we recorded. Phoenix was doing the sessions for me, and Jeff was doing the session for me. But there was something starting to happen. You could see it, in the footage, and you could see it in the photographs. And then afterward, with everything that's developed since then, and it finished out with footage from the soundstage show, and I'm like, oh my God. It's the arc of a band, right? Yeah. Here it is, lights, big sound, a band that looks like they're just killing it. Very first one, not killing it. But you see it building over time, and it actually, by the time I finished that video, it felt like, no, I'm excited. I can see this. There is something that has been developing. So that became my 2020, in Raven Tree's 2020. Going into 2021, all the hope and expectation was there. January, February, we were one of the first bands to do some shows. I think 86 Bullets from up in Westminster were the first ones that I saw that actually kicked off 2021 with a show. Was it Rat Rod out of Delaware that they played up in Westminster, and then we played the following couple weeks later.
Yeah, they both had shows.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure exactly who got the first one.
Yeah. Either way, we did shows with that up there, and then 2 weeks later we were playing down at Pax River in front of like 200 people, and it was a great show. Went over really well. We knocked the rust off in Westminster, and then we killed it. And then we just did a show in Zen West that it's one of those shows that every now and then I'll forget to turn on the recorder, I'll forget to turn on the camera, and it's the greatest show of our lives. Maybe that's why, right?
Right.
Because you're not worried about anything. But we had a great show at Zen West, and this year, and we can talk about the future, in a bit. But this year's turning out okay. But 2021 was just, some people are writing and recording albums, and I'm like, dude, where are we with the band, right? Or what are we doing with? Is Raven Tree really a thing anymore? And just really some existential types of of thought process going on. And I think I'm sure we're not the only people, taking a deep introspective look at themselves during the blip.
Right.
Right?
No, absolutely. But so it's actually a really good segue into it, talking about that video where you're looking at all this older footage.